Hi, this is Amy Jo Johnson. I played the original Pink Ranger, and you're listening to my interview with Elaine Goodman on gogoodman.com.au.
Before you began your acting and music career, you were a gymnast. How old were you when you started gymnastics?
I started doing gymnastics when I was 7 years old, and I couldn't wait to start. That was like all I wanted to do. And when my mom said, when you turn 7, you can start gymnastics. So as soon as I turned 7, I started.
So seven was where she drew the line.
What is it?
The age of 7 was where she drew the line. She didn't want you to start beforehand?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's money-wise, I don't know. Yeah, that was the age I was allowed to do it. So.
And then I read that you reached Class 1 in gymnastics. How far away is that from the Olympics?
So it was back in the day. So this was like during the 70s and 80s that I did gymnastics, and the levels were beginner. It went up to level 1, and then after level 1 was elite. And so when you're in elite, that's the level where you go to gymnastics and to the Olympics. So I was like, below the level. It was still advanced, but it wasn't the Olympic level.
How old were you when you were in Class 1?
You know what? I was 10. I really peaked as a gymnast at 10 years old. Because I hurt myself around 10, and then I started to be afraid, and I think you cannot have fear in gymnastics, and once you do, you kind of level off at that level. So, my career as a gymnast was over around 10 years old.
And so at the age...
I continued to do gymnastics all the way, up through being 16 years old, but I never got any better than I was at 10.
When you were, 8, 9, and you were at that level, how hard were you training? Were you training every day, or?
Yeah, it was pretty much every day, like 3 hours a day. Yeah.
In between school?
No, after school. We would go at night. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible for such a young person.
Yeah, I loved it. It was gymnastics in a way saved my life, basically. My upbringing was so odd. I sort of grew up in a religious cult, and but the gymnastics was this place where I could go and just feel normal.
Wow, I've never, of all the interviews I've listened to, I don't think I've ever heard that you grew up in a cult. I did, and you know what? My first short film that I just did. A couple years ago called Bent, sort of reflects on that, has a little piece of that sort of within the short film. So you, obviously...
so for 12 years when I was in my childhood, from the time I was 3 to about 15.
But you were obviously able to mix with kids outside of the cult.
Yeah, we were non-residents, and so we went to public school, which was really hard on us as well, because we had all these rules inflicted on us that were really strict, and then went to public school, but had to follow the rules from this religious group that we were involved in. So it was, it was kind of a bummer, but whatever. Everybody has their thing.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned you had to give up gymnastics at the age of 10 through injury. What was the injury, and how did it happen?
I didn't actually give up gymnastics. I just leveled off.
Sorry,
I just never got any better.
Yeah.
I fell backwards on my arm and had a couple of different operations on my elbow. But it was during gymnastics. I was on the bars. Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. There's been I'm a big fan of basketball, and there's been a couple of them that I've seen happen in basketball, and it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah. It's tough.
Do you remember? Was it traumatic for you at that age?
Falling and hurting myself, it was one of those injuries that, when I fell, I can remember falling, and I remember it hurt, but then I kind of went on, and then I didn't realize that I had actually chipped my cartilage or something, and it was floating around in there, and so a couple months after, and then my elbow started to get stuck, and I couldn't, open my elbow, so they had to go in and sort of, suck out the little piece of cartilage that was floating around.
Ooh, ouch. So then...
you decided to pursue acting. How long did it take you to decide to pursue acting instead of gymnastics? Well, you were still doing gymnastics.
It wasn't really like that. I always knew I wanted to perform since I was 7 years old. At the same time I started gymnastics. A lot of things happened at 7. But then, I never pursued acting until after I graduated from high school, and I moved to New York City. And I went to the American Musical Dramatic Academy, and that's where I really decided that I wanted to be an actor. And then from there, I moved out to Los Angeles when I was 20.
So do you remember when you were first, I guess, exposed to acting and knew that you wanted to do it?
I just knew. I grew up in a small town, and I knew as soon as I graduated from high school, I was heading to New York City to do what? I don't know, to perform, to sing, to dance, to act. I didn't know what it was I wanted to do. I just knew I needed to go to a big city.
And, yeah, as you mentioned, to pursue acting, you moved to New York and then to LA at the age of 18, straight after you finished, 18 or 19, straight after you finished high school. As an 18-year-old, was it hard to, I guess, kind of figure out your career path and also implement the structure to make that new career in acting a success and moving away from home and making it happen so independently?
Well, it was my college, like people go to university, and I went to New York City to acting school, and I went wild. I went totally wild. I had so much fun. It was my first time on my own and in a big city and making new friends, and it was an awesome, awesome time. And back then, New York City was very different than it is now. It was a bit more dangerous, I think. This was in, 1990. Now New York feels like, Disney World in a way. It's so, you feel really safe there now. And at that time, I don't think it was as safe of a place. But it was still such an experience. And so, yeah, I look back at that time. I don't know if I really learned much about acting during that time, but I certainly did party a lot.
Yeah. A lot of partying that you can remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In Central Park, are you kidding? Oh, my God. I had some good times.
So did you ever get homesick?
For Cape Cod, no.
No?
No, once I left, I was pretty much done with Cape Cod. I go back to visit my family, and it's an amazing place to vacation. But, no, I need city. I need
hustle and bustle.
Stuff happening around me. Yeah. I mean, even though I don't like to live smack dab in the city, I like to live not necessarily a suburb, but I don't know how to explain it, but I need to be really close to a city.
Yeah. And then in 1993, you got your break. Obviously, through Power Rangers. In those 5 years from moving out of your home state of Massachusetts and getting the gig as the original Pink Power Ranger, what was life? Was it the stereotypical struggle that most actors go through, or was it pretty smooth sailing?
I think, I moved out to LA, and it was about a year before I landed Power Rangers. It was called Dino Rangers at the time. And I just really focused on taking classes and actually, learning how to act. And then, and then when I got the job for Power Rangers, that was, it was a really huge transition in my life. It wasn't a ton of money. It was non-union, but at the same time, it was a consistent job, and it was really good for me at that time. I learned a lot on that set, about how to be on a set, about etiquette, about letting go of, worrying about what you look like. There was a lot that went down for me in my growth, I think, just as a human being, in my early 20s. And so it was great. It was a great job, and I did it for, I think, 2 years. And then after that, I would say the struggle began with acting. It was about 2 years after that before I got another job, and it was sort of this period where nobody really wanted to hire me because I was, coming from this kids show, and so it took a little bit of time to prove myself, I think, and it was actually a job where I played an anorexic gymnast, which I think helped my transition. And getting that job, I actually got to use my skills as a gymnast again to get that job as well. So I think gymnastics has really been definitely an asset in my life.
Okay, so you're racing ahead a little bit. So let's slow down just a tad. So as Power Rangers happened back in 93, you were a few years older than most of the cast. They were a few of them were around 20 and 19, and you were a couple of years older. Was this the kind of...
Well, not most of the cast. I wouldn't say that. I think I was smack dab right in the middle. I think me and Twee were around the same age. Jason, Frank was younger, and Austin was younger, but David and Walter were older.
Okay, yeah, so you were kind of mid to early 20s. Was this the kind of gig, I mean, you were looking for? Were you nervous getting involved in what you said? Yeah, you mentioned a non-union show. Did you know anything about what that meant?
I knew nothing. I didn't even have an agent at the time. I was like such a naive little girl coming from Cape Cod and spent a year partying in New York City, and then I landed up in Hollywood and got my first job, and I was totally psyched. I was, wearing spandex on television was a little embarrassing, but, you got to embrace it. And, and I don't know, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't even get an agent until after I left the show.
Okay. Oh, right. So how come it took you so long to get an agent? I get you didn't need one if you were on Power Rangers.
I didn't need one. I got the job, and then, I mean, looking back, maybe I did need one. Although when Walter and Twee and Austin got agents and tried to get more money, they all got fired. So maybe it was a good thing that I didn't get an agent. I don't know. For a couple years, and then I finally left. But I left on good terms, which was really nice. I asked Shuki, who was one of the owners of the show, or the producers, if I could leave, because I was done, I'd done it for 2 years, and he was awesome. He said yes, and he gave me Susie Q. He's like, you can leave if you do this little movie for me, and I'm like, absolutely. Oh my God, that's a total gift. And so it was really nice. It was on good terms, and yeah, I have no negative feelings about that experience. I mean, sometimes it's kind of a bummer because they play those episodes constantly on Netflix now, and we literally get $0 for that. And so, it would have been nice if we got residuals now, but it's fine. It's fine. It's all part of life, right? And what happens in the journey.
Do you remember how you found out about the show and the audition?
The audition?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was taking a acting class from this woman, Katie Wallens, and a commercial acting class, and she was actually a casting director as well. So she told me about the audition. Okay,
and the show was literally an overnight success. As you mentioned, it's on Netflix now, being repeated over and over and over again. What do you remember?
Yeah.
What do you remember of the first season and a half before you got to do the movie? I mean, the fans, the publicity, the trip to Universal Studios, the long filming hours. What's your, I guess, in a nutshell, what's your memory of the whole experience?
It's probably, it was kind of a shock, and it rocked my world a little bit when it hit the air and it became so popular. And I had nightmares for a long time. I think just getting that famous that quickly in such a weird way, in this like kids show superhero sort of way, with this mad, like massive fans all over the spectrum, from awesome little kids to kind of crazy men, like older men. That it was a weird experience, and it was frightening. I was really frightened, actually.
And look.
And it took me a long time to really because I ended up having a few stalkers, and it just was a weird experience. To get I think fame anyway is a weird thing, and it's something you have to kind of
grapple with and figure out where it suits you and how it fits you. And you know what I mean? And in your 20s, I always think it's such a hard thing. You're just discovering who you are. And then all of a sudden you get thrown this weird fame at you, which is odd, but you can't get another job to save your life. So it was all such a weird experience in hindsight. It really was. But it was, you know, an amazing experience at the same time. But it took me a long time to really be able to embrace the people that loved the show, and because of how fast it happened and some negative experiences that happened to me.
In hindsight, do you think you could have embraced it differently, or was it that quick that still looking back it still like scares you a little bit that it happened so fast and that it was all happening so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, say in my mind frame now, and I jumped back there and had my mind frame that I have now, I think I could have maybe handled my brain differently, but I was so young and from a small town and never experienced like something like that. So I do think that I did a good job at the same time of not letting myself go and help in remaining normal. You know what I mean? Like I do think I did a good job. Now, would I handle it differently? Yes, I would definitely handle it much better now as a 40-year-old woman. 43, whatever. Let's not count ages.
That's up to you. Did you, when you first started filming, did you think it was going to be as big as it turned out to be and still is today?
No, nobody did. Nobody knew it was going to like be this crazy, weird, like, you know,
pop culture.
Christmas, like, yeah, it was like all of a sudden the Christmas toy, you know, the year before it was the Cabbage Patch doll, and all of a sudden it was a Power Ranger doll, and it was like mayhem and craziness. No, nobody expected that. It was such a weird fluke, right? It was just like, it just happened.
So what was your first impression, I mean, of the script, of the set, of the costumes? What was your first impression?
Oh, I was just psyched to be working as an actor. I never worked as an actor, so it was just awesome. It was fun.
And when Austin, Twee, and Walter left in the second season, did you consider leaving as well?
No, I never did. I still wasn't there. I didn't even have an agent yet. I was just playing. I was just doing the job and going to work, and I don't know. I didn't have anybody, a big agent or something, whispering in my ear about unions and all that. I wasn't there yet. I didn't even really understand it at that time.
And yeah, then without skipping a beat, you were basically shipped off to Australia to shoot the first feature film in the franchise. What do you remember about coming out here? Were you still, I guess, trying to figure out what the show was?
I had such a fun time. It was like 6 months we were there, and it was awesome. I don't know. It was like summer camp. It was like, you know, we were all staying in these hotels, and we were partying again, but we were having so much fun and working with big-time producers and like the people involved. I mean, the production, I think it was like a $35 million budget, and that was huge at that time. It was really a big deal.
And do you think that the hype of the show had settled in for you by then?
Oh, yeah, but at that time, are you kidding? They were telling us, you'll never have to audition again. You're going to be big movie stars. Like, they were filling our heads with, like, oh, my God, you're doing a $35 million feature. Like, this is it. Yeah, so I think we all kind of were like, oh, my God, we've made it. And then the movie, like, tanked, and we didn't make it.
Jeez, you should have recorded them saying that.
It was a fun 6 months. We thought we were movie stars.
Yeah,
but I kept reminding everybody, you guys, you're wearing spandex. You have to remember that aspect to it. You cannot take yourself seriously wearing spandex. You can't.
At least you got a free trip to Australia.
It was awesome. Yeah, I loved it. I want to go back.
Oh, you're welcome back anytime. What what do you think changed for you between, I guess, the peak of the series, the movie, and then the feeling like you'd had enough, like you said, halfway through the third season? Were you bored of the show? Did you want to try something else? What do you think, I guess, changed?
Yeah, I was done. You know what? I was turning 25. I'm still playing a high school kid. I suddenly had a real thirst for learning how to act, really. Like, really take classes and to do plays and to... Suddenly, I just wanted to try and become a more serious actor for myself and just really... And I did for I'm not saying I did, but for 2 years, I just dived into doing plays and classes, and I didn't worry about the business aspect still. I was still just really focused on, like, I don't know, I feel like that's the key for somebody who's younger who wants to become an actor, to not focus on the business aspect at that point or that age, to just really focus on the craft and learning it. And I think then the business aspect will just sort of fall into place.
And
personally,
I guess something I wanted to ask you as well is, do you still get a little giggle when you put on like a pink T-shirt or something?
A pink T-shirt, no. But when I did that Stage It show, I don't know if you saw. I did a Stage It show with David, the Blue Ranger, Yost, who's my really good buddy, and I wore like this pink Ranger sweatshirt, and I loved it. I totally did get a giggle, and I actually want to find one because I would love to have that.
Yes, I saw that on YouTube.
I love that sweatshirt.
I might be able to link your website, because I've got a couple of Power Ranger T-shirts from a really cool website that I found, so cool. I can email that to you.
Stage It, so you saw that Stage It, right?
Yeah, I saw it on I didn't see it live. I saw it on YouTube afterwards. I watched it through.
Okay. So I'm doing one October 19th at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm doing a Stage It show, which is going to be which I love these Stage It shows. They're so much fun. Like, you just tune in and we all chit chat, and like literally there's a chat room going on the side, and I read it and I talk to it. And so I'm doing a Stage It show because I'm launching an Indiegogo campaign for my first feature film I'm going to direct.
Okay.
I wrote and I'm directing. So the launch is on October 19th, yeah.
As you're probably aware, we've just passed the 13th anniversary of your friend Thuy Trang's tragic passing. How do you remember her 13 years on? What stands out for you about her that you can remember?
About Thuy?
Yeah.
She was one of the most individual people I've ever met. That girl just walks to the beat of her own drum. And in hindsight, it's so awesome. Like, she was great. Yeah, she was really great. And I look back on some of the episodes, and her acting was great. She was really good. And at the time, we were all in the middle of it, and I didn't know. But I think she was really, really good. And I didn't realize how good she was until watching back the episodes now. And
leading on from Power Rangers, you had a few cameos here and there before you got another regular gig, including on, which I found really cool, on Saved by the Bell. But you continued...
Talk about that.
You continued to work with Power Rangers producer Shuki Levy on his film Susie Q, as you mentioned. Why do you think you had such a strong bond with him as opposed to any of the other crew?
As opposed to any of the other what?
Any of the other crew.
Any of the other crew?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I had a lot of bonds with a lot of different people. He was the producer, and then there's Heinz Bond. I don't know. He was a musician, really creative, and I don't know. We became good friends, and his wife at the time had written Susie Q, and they thought I would be good for the part.
And after Power Rangers, you mentioned you got a little bit typecast because you had been basically an athletic teenager being a superhero. Was that hard for you? You said this was the time where it kind of got a little bit difficult for you.
I don't think I was typecast. I think that people didn't think we were good actors.
And was that
I
hard
don't
for
think I
you?
was typecast. I don't think I was famous enough in that way to be typecast. I think that they just didn't take the actors on Power Rangers very seriously as actors.
And was that obviously hard for you leading on into, I guess, a bigger career?
It made me work really hard. It made me that's why I wanted to take classes and do plays and just it made me want to become a better actor. Adversity, I think, sometimes those obstacles are the best ones for you, right?
Yeah. Then in 1998 you landed Felicity. Did you feel relieved to have regular work on a new show, which you hadn't really had for about 3 years, which was when you finished on Power Rangers? Yeah.
Oh my God. It was the first time, not the first time, but it just really felt like a really special job. The people involved, the caliber of the directors they were having come in were these film directors, J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. They were just, I don't know, it felt like the whole next level of my career. It was definitely, in looking back as well, it was one of the highlights of my career.
And then
I felt really proud of that show.
Leading on from that, was it easier to get jobs?
No.
No?
I mean, I think I've always been lucky and I've always worked consistently. But, let's face it, I never became Julia Roberts, which I really wanted to be. And I've had a great career and always worked consistently, but it could have been a bigger career, So, no, it never got easy. It's you always still audition and you go through the process. But I do think I've always been blessed to make a living at it and to always consistently work. So I have no complaints. But I would never say it would be easy.
Doing my research, I read up on all the different shows you've been in them, and most of the ones you spent a long period of time involved in seem to have a depressing storyline. I mean, The Division was about a group of San Francisco cops and their personal issues. Felicity, which you were on from 98 to 2002, was about a girl who followed her high school crush to college. And then Susie Q was about a ghost haunting her old house and building a relationship with one of the guys that lives there. Is this something that you've thought about, or was it just more of getting a paid job for you? Because a few of them are pretty creepy storylines. Yeah, a few of them have pretty creepy storylines.
Yeah, but isn't that drama? Isn't that most TV shows do, don't they? Otherwise, it'd be boring.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it have any effect on you?
Yeah. No, I think more than anything, I just like working and want to work. And when you have an opportunity presented to you, you probably usually should take it. I mean, unless you're a huge movie star. So, yeah, I think I haven't really chosen exactly my career. I think it sort of just presented itself to me, and that's where I've ended up. And I would probably bet most actors' careers are that.
Then in 2008, you got the gig on Flashpoint and stayed on the show for all 5 years that it was on. But before that, I heard an interview where you said you retired from acting in about 2005 and moved to Canada. You said you weren't so much sick of acting as you were of the Hollywood scene. What effect did Hollywood have on you, and why did you move up to Canada as opposed to moving back to Massachusetts?
Right. Well, that's true. Oh, I do have to say that I did make choices because I did leave a couple different shows. So that was sort of, I don't know if that was a dumb choice, but at the time, for different reasons, I needed to, personally. So when I was about turning 35, this way, friend, I think I had a moment of panic that I wasn't married and didn't have a kid.
And so that's probably the biggest reason why I left Los Angeles. And then I did go back to Cape Cod for a brief moment, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do there. Like I said before, I need to be in a city. So I chose Montreal because I wanted to learn French, and it was new, and I wanted to be away from the acting and entertainment industry. And for me, going there was the place to do that. Although I was there for 2 years, and then I got the call to do Flashpoint, and I'm so happy I got that call. Because actually doing Flashpoint really helped me realize how much I do actually love acting, and it wasn't acting that I wanted to quit. It was more just I needed a different lifestyle and a different life.
So it was kind of like a mid to early life crisis rather than, I guess, getting depressed about Hollywood. It was kind of just like a realization.
Oh, I wasn't. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I had a real breakdown. Just so panicked that I was never going to have kids.
Wow. Yeah. Looking back, are you kind of? I guess you're relieved that since then, in the last 8 years, you've kind of turned your life around a little bit, personally.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. And I realized that, I don't know, maybe I did need to panic to get to be able to get to where I am with finding a guy and having a cool little girl, and I don't know, like maybe I did need to leave LA, and maybe I did need to go through all that and letting go of this dream and lifestyle of what I thought my life would be.
And who or what finally convinced you to do Flashpoint?
My husband. Yeah, I was pregnant. I just found out I was pregnant, and I was like, and then they called, and I said, no, I'm not going to go in. It was an audition. I said no, and my husband's like, you are not sitting here for 9 months doing nothing. Like, I barely know you, but I know you enough to know that you will go crazy. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll tell them. I'll tell them I am pregnant, and if they still want me, then it's meant to be. So I did. I told them. And they still wanted me, and I was really surprised.
That was lucky.
Right? It was on their part, but it all worked out.
The show is about the missions and trials of a Toronto police tactical unit. Was it filmed in Toronto?
Yeah.
So it was local for you?
That's what brought me to Toronto. Yeah, and I love it here now. That's where I live now.
So was that a big factor in you, I guess, going back to them and telling them you were pregnant and hoping they would still accept you, that it was local?
I wasn't local. I was in Montreal at the time.
Or more local than LA?
So that was really, really difficult.
More local than LA?
It was really hard because, not really. My husband, our lives were in Montreal and my job was here, so it was very difficult 2 years because his job was there. So, and it's an hour flight, a 6-hour drive. So that was hard, but I fell in love with Toronto when I was here. So even though now that the show's over, this is my city. This is what I call home now. Like, I love it.
Did you enjoy Flashpoint more than Power Rangers because of, I guess it's a bit more of a mature show?
Well, I mean, that question is kind of like, I did Power Rangers 20 years ago when I was 23.
Yeah,
I could never have played the part on Flashpoint when I was 23. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been ready or old enough or have enough confidence or anything. So it's two different experiences, but I think, I don't know why, but I feel like Flashpoint really, and maybe working with Enrico Colantoni and some of the other actors and stuff just really helped me gain confidence as a person, as an actor. It was probably the most nurturing set I'd ever been on, which is weird because at times it wasn't. But but in looking back, it was definitely a really great place to grow and sort of come into my own and walk away with the confidence to be able to write and direct my own projects.
You've mentioned...
I never had that confidence before.
you've mentioned, guess having a bit of a lack of confidence going through the entertainment industry quite a bit. Do you think that comes from just getting into the industry as a young girl, or do you think it stems from, I guess, growing up in a cult?
Oh, you know what? Probably all of it.
I don't want to get too deep because there's probably things you don't want to mention, but I just want to scrape the surface a bit.
Absolutely. I think that growing up in the cult really rocked my confidence and took me years and years and years to be able to sort of mend and climb through and overcome, for sure. But then also being in your early 20s and wearing spandex on TV and suddenly being really famous to a bunch of strangers totally was, nerve-wracking at the same time too.
Did they brainwash?
But you know what? But everybody's different. So people really people are more mature at different ages and different levels. I was very immature for probably until I had that weird breakdown at 35. Not that I'm mature now, but I think I'm more mature than I was.
You've got a kid that makes you look a bit more mature.
Right. You know what? Oh yeah, having Frankie, that definitely makes you grow up. That's for sure.
Did they brainwash you in the cult at all? Was it that strong of a cult?
Let me see. Yeah, for sure. Like my mom and went through a lot as a kid. Yeah, probably not more than any really hardcore religion would. But there were. I never really bought it anyway. So, but yeah, I guess so.
And through your acting career, you've kept in touch with your musical side, which you discovered at about the time you started on Power Rangers.
Yeah.
What role has music played in your career? Did you ever? Well, I know you've released a few albums. Did you ever want to have music as your primary career instead of acting?
No, I don't know why. I don't think I don't ever think I was good enough for that. I don't know. I like to play and write my own songs and stuff, but I'm by no means really good at the guitar. Or, I taught myself how to play the guitar, so that's always just sort of stayed as a hobby and a place where I just a sort of a cathartic place for me where I write songs about my heartaches and life. And so if it ever happened naturally, then I would have totally have embraced it, but I wasn't searching for that.
Do you think it's good now that you have that release? Did you have that release back when you had your mental breakdown?
Let's not call it a mental breakdown. Let's just call it
fine. Your epiphany. I don't know. What do you want to call it?
My crash and burn. No, I don't know.
I'm glad you can laugh about it.
I wrote a whole novel called My Heart Is in My Head that me and my producing partner are probably going to develop into a mini-series in a couple of years. But it's basically that entire experience. It's quite funny.
So did you have music back then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was when I was 35. Yeah, I wrote a lot of songs at that time. Oh, yeah. I would just play my guitar and sing, for sure.
Now you've gone behind the scenes and you're putting all your energy into writing and directing. Can you tell me, this is where you can talk about your feature film. Can you tell me about your progression from Bent, your original short film, to Lines, and now, as you've mentioned, you've got a new one coming out soon, I believe.
I do, actually. Yeah, it's been so much fun making these little movies, and it's really helped me transition into, I think, what I really want to do now, which is write and direct. And so I did Bent, and then I did Lines, which is going into festivals right now. We just finished one called Shooting Blanks, which we're actually going to release mid-Indiegogo campaign. So around, I would say, November 1st, we're actually going to put it online and not do festivals with it. We're just going to put it out there for everybody to see because it is a prequel to The Space Between, which is kind of fun so people can actually see what the movie's about. It's a 7-minute little short film. about right before the movie starts. And so, anyway, so we're raising the money for the movie through Indiegogo and applying for a couple grants and stuff, and we're going to shoot in the spring. And then, so by 2016, I'll have my first feature, which makes me so happy.
So what's the difference for you between making a short film, which I'm guessing is 10 to 20 minutes, to making a full feature film, which is 90 minutes plus? What's the difference in the process for you?
The difference in what?
In the process, from writing it to directing it to making it all
look
look good.
I haven't done a feature yet. No, but you know, I'm writing it. My producer actually is in the Canadian Film Centre's, the CFC producing lab, which is amazing because they're sort of bringing this project, developing it through the lab, which is really awesome. And my producer, Jessica Adams, is this amazing, young, talented producer. And, yeah, I haven't tackled a feature yet. So I've written it and have 3 shorts under my belt. And I'm just going to jump in and do it. I think it'll be about a 20-day shoot where the shorts were 2-day shoots. So it's just going to be a longer chunk of time and then a longer chunk of time editing. And this is just a bigger process, right? But I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. So I can actually answer that question better next year.
And obviously you've got the $35 million budget.
Oh yeah, we know it's a micro budget. It'll be a small budget.
Right. So where can people see Bent and Lines online yet, or are they not available?
Bent. You can see Bent online at the New England Film Festival.com, NewEnglandFilmFestival.com. It's in the festival right now, so it'll be up. And then also on that, there's another website. You can see it, the National Screen Institute Online Festival. You can watch it. And then I'm about to just let it on Vimeo so anybody can see it. Lines, no one can see yet because it's going through festivals, and you can't just put it online until after the festivals are finished.
What kind of attention have you been getting from your short films? Have you been getting good feedback?
Yeah, well, I think Brent did really well. It won a bunch of the different awards and stuff. I mean, the festival process is such a weird process because you never know, like, if it's political to get it. I have no idea. You just kind of send it out there, and I'm just hoping it lands. Like, so Lines has gotten into the Wine Country Film Festival in Sonoma next month, and also Edmonton. And they were waiting to hear back on a bunch of other ones. I think it'll be a whole different thing once it's a feature. I think putting a short film through a festival is different than putting a feature through. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Okay. How did you get into directing? Was it just a matter of just starting to write and then getting a team behind you, or was there a process going from acting and making contacts and stuff?
No, when I finished Flashpoint, I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I wouldn't have been able to do it if I hadn't gotten over my fear of people who actually like my acting career and embraced them and sort of started my Twitter account and Facebook. Hi, thank you. And then became really, almost friends with a lot of these people because I talk to them so much and do stage it. And they've funded both of my films, I've done 2 Indiegogos already, Lines and Bent, and I never, ever would have been able to make either of those movies without those supporters.
I've heard interviews where you talk about, as you mentioned, being mentally scarred from the large crowds of Power Rangers back in the early 90s. And I know it must have been pretty hard for you, but you pushed yourself to go to Lexington in Kentucky earlier this year.
I did. It was so fun. I really loved it.
Was it a weird experience seeing everyone? I mean, all the other Rangers say it's weird. Well, it's not weird, but it's kind of surreal having, I
was really lucky, though, because what Jared did for that was I just had a private room with about 200 people in there just to watch my movies. I would sing, then I took pictures with everybody, and then I signed stuff. But I had a really sort of special, amazing experience as a first Comic-Con, and it was amazing. Everybody in there was the best audience you could possibly ever want because they paid their money and they're in there because they really like you.
Can you see yourself getting involved in the convention circuit a little further down the track? I know you're obviously focused on your film production because that's your passion.
I can't even see it. You know how hard it is? Listen to me. On the interview with you, with Frank, pushing Frankie on a swing, like, when am I going to go to a Comic-Con convention? Trying at the same time to, get film off the ground. So, as I'm pulling Frankie out of the swing, to answer that question, I don't foresee it in the near future at all because I just want to make movies right now. And so I feel like that would be distracting for me because it is a whole world and a whole vortex and a whole energy, and I think you really have to be into it to enjoy it.
Yeah, I like all the pages of the other Ranger actors, and you see them that they really get mobbed sometimes from wherever they go, and that they put so much energy into it and building their profile through those conventions.
Yeah,
it must take so much
it's amazing.
of a toll.
It's a job. It's a job. It's a whole other career. You know, and right now I'm just trying to build my writing and directing career. So that's where my focus is.
That's fair enough. So what's a question I love asking people at the end of the interviews? What's next? What's on your bucket list that you want to do in the near future? Obviously outside filmmaking. What's something that you really want to do?
You mean acting wise or what?
Oh, like in life, what's on your bucket list?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? I can't wait till Frankie's like a little older and we go travel in the world. I want to go to Thailand with her and fun places and back to Bosnia. I haven't been to Bosnia in 10 years. I need to go back there and see my friends and just, I don't know, just enjoying and not worrying and stressing so much like I used to before I had my breakdown. Just kidding.
Yeah. Cool.